Let me break Miss Sorensen's drivel down a bit. Maybe the show can go to a place without tax dollars backing it. There are plenty of channels that are not funded by our taxes. If people truly want to watch the show, it will survive. This is why radio stations have advertisements or have paid subscription services. Because unless all of the money comes from taxes, liberals do not think that it can run. Why does the federal government own all of this land? Why not put that land under the state that it is in and charge people to enter like every other tourist trap? Because if it is federalized, the government can forbid people from entering, such as what Canada is doing. This is just so ridiculous that it is not worthy of a breakdown. Miss Sorensen just loves her drivel. Tariffs are an interesting case as those were put forth under emergency powers. And so far, unlike the emergency powers proposed by Jar Jar Binks, these are limited and have yet to grow. As for the power of the purse, a lot of these programs do not necessarily exist in the federal budget, but were created at the whim of the department in question. As such, they are at the behest of the president. It is not scientific to purge the internet of conflicting viewpoints. It is not scientific to shut down devices that could help. It is not scientific to change your policies on a whim to stay relevant. If these drugs were safe, they can pass the test that every other drug goes through. And like almost every other industry, they can use private investors. I am sure that Bill Gates could fund their research instead of pushing for population control. First of all, the American economy is doing great. All of the doom and gloom predictions have not come to pass. Second of all, that was the stewardess on the previous flight, and she said that everything was fine while the plane was crashing. It is all projection for liberals, accusing others of what they do themselves. It is quite sad, really. You mean the tape that does not exist, because it was made up by the Clinton campaign, and then the Obama administration ran with it? That tape? If President Trump had Russian salad dressing on his dinner, that would be a Russia connection for these people. What people like Mr. Markstein do not seem to understand is, candidate and then President Trump was minding his own business when these people and groups targeted him. He just closed a real estate deal that the bank signed off on, and Letitia James, who ran on targeting him, targeted him. And we have documented evidence that these federal officials targeted President Trump at the behest of thankfully former President Obama. That is to say nothing of the Operation Mockingbird assets. They could just leave him alone, but their Trump derangement syndrome will not let that happen. How to fight the next pandemic? 1. Do not create the virus and try to make it more virulent. 2. Allow debate and discussion so that people can find more treatments. 3. Allow people to get exercise, fresh air, and sunshine to mitigate the symptoms. 4. Do not put sick people in with the elderly while. 5. Letting families visit so that the sick and elderly do not die of loneliness. Follow these steps, the same steps we took every other year in recent memory, and the next pandemic will not be a problem. Actually, it is Hamas that is enforcing this diet. Attributing this discovery to someone else is highly unethical. Hamas is stealing the aid that Israel is giving to these people. Hamas and their ilk can just ask for peace with Israel, and this would be all over tomorrow. However, the enemy has hated Jews for millennia and has wanted them wiped out all of this time for revenge against his creator. If someone that the Capitol Police led into the Capitol is a threat, maybe talk to the Capitol Police first. Also, President Trump offered the National Guard, but since the entry into the Capitol was planned even the day before by the Democrats and the FBI, that could not happen. Instead, the National Guard can deal with the muggings and carjackings. This cartoon would be suitable last year. But since Biden and most of his cohorts are not there, the only remaining criminals are the Biden holdovers. Unless, of course, the Democrats want to come up with another series of trumped-up charges as a result of their Trump derangement syndrome. Then there will be the criminals who created the conspiracy.